What if I told you that most people using AI today are doing it almost completely wrong? Not because they're not smart, but because they fundamentally misunderstand what AI actually is. They treat it like a search engine or a magic oracle or a colleague who just knows things. And that misunderstanding, it is costing them results. It's leading to bad decisions. And in some cases, it's making them look embarrassingly uninformed. Today on Tutor Tuesday, we are going deep. We are going to unpack how AI actually thinks, why it sounds so convincing even when it is wrong. And more importantly, how can you shift from being an average AI user to someone who genuinely gets leverage from these tools? This isn't a hype episode. This is the foundation episode. Let's get into it. Let's start with the single most important thing to understand and also the most misunderstood. AI does not think, at least not the way you and I think. When you ask ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini a question, here's what is actually happening under the hood. The model is predicting the most statistically likely sequence of words, one token at a time, based on patterns it learned from an enormous amount of text data, token by token, probability by probability, not thought by thought. Think of it like this. Imagine you've read every book, article, forum post, and research paper ever written on the internet. And when someone asks you a question, you don't look it up. You just recall what the most common, coherent sounding answer to that question looked like in everything you've read. That's essentially what a large language model does. It has no lived experience, no genuine understanding of the world, no internal model of reality. What it has is a very, very good statistical model of how language is used to describe reality. LLMs generate responses token by token using probability, not comprehension. The model was trained on text. It learned patterns. That is the mechanism. There is no reasoning engine behind these words. The words are the output of the engine. Now, this isn't a criticism of AI, it's actually remarkable engineering. But if you don't understand this, you'll use these tools as if they're something they are not. And that's where the problems begin. So, if AI is just predicting patterns, why does it sound so convincing? Why does it feel like you're talking to something intelligent? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Humans are wired to associate fluent, coherent language with intelligence. If someone speaks confidently and clearly, we assume that they know what they're talking about. We can't help it. It's a cognitive shortcut that works well with humans. But with AI, it becomes a vulnerability. Fluency is not the same as accuracy. Confidence is not the same as correctness. AI has been trained on billions of examples of humans communicating clearly. So it has learned exceptionally well how to sound clear, authoritative, and structured. But that style is a learned pattern, not a signal of internal understanding. You've probably had this experience. You ask an AI something, it gives you a beautifully structured three-paragraph response. And it sounds so good that you trust it. You paste it in your email, your report, your presentation, and then someone catches an error that could have embarrassed you. Fluent language is the output, not evidence of comprehension behind the output. AI has mastered the appearance of expertise. That's different from expertise itself. Understanding is not about being skeptical of AI. It's about being a more sophisticated user of it. The tool is extraordinarily powerful. You just need to know what you're actually working with. Which brings us to one of the most talked about and most misunderstood problem in AI, hallucinations. AI hallucination is when the model generates information that sounds completely correct but is factually wrong. A citation that doesn't exist, a statistic that was never published, a case study that never happened, described in confident, detailed prose. Why does this happen? Because the model's job is not to be accurate. Its job, technically speaking, is to generate a plausible completion of the output it received. It optimizes for coherence and fluency. Truth is not the objective function. The AI is not lying to you. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do: generate a highly plausible sequence of tokens. It just has no reliable way to know when it is wrong. Hallucinations are a feature of the architecture, not a bug to be patched away entirely. The model prioritizes plausible completion over factual accuracy. Verification is your responsibility, not the AI's. This doesn't mean AI is useless for research or writing. Far from it. But it means you should never use AI output as a primary source. Use it as a first draft, a thinking partner, a structure generator, and always verify claims that matter. Okay, now let's talk about what most people actually do, because this is where the gap shows up. The most common pattern I see: someone opens ChatGPT or Claude, sometimes types something like, write me a marketing plan for my startup or explain machine learning, and then they read whatever comes out and take it at face value. That is a terrible way to use these tools. And here's why. Vague prompts produce vague generic outputs. The model has no context. It just fills the gap with averages. Blindly trusting outputs without verification is how you end up with hallucinated facts in your presentations. One shot prompting, ask once, accept the answer, wastes the model's actual capability. Think about it from the model's perspective. If I say, write me a marketing plan, the model has no idea what industry you are in, who your customer is, what your budget is, what's already been tried, what your constraints are. It's going to produce the statistical average of every marketing plan it was ever trained on, which is generic, safe, and not particularly useful for your situation. Most people are getting 20% of the value these tools can deliver simply because of how they're prompting. And that's actually good news for you, because this is entirely fixable. So, what do skilled AI users do differently? They don't just prompt, they engineer context. Let me break down the four things that separates an average prompt from a powerful one. The context. Who are you? What's the situation? What does the model need to know to help you well? Don't assume it knows your industry, role, or constraints. What are the boundaries, format, length, tone, audience, things to avoid? Constraints reduce the solution space and dramatically improve output quality. Let's take an example. Show the model what good looks like. One well chosen example is often worth a paragraph of instructions. Clear objective. What is this output for? What decision does it inform? What action should it enable? The more specific your end goal, the more useful the output. The shift isn't from bad prompts to better prompts. It is from prompting to context engineering, thinking about AI as a workflow component, not a magical answer box. And beyond individual prompts, the most sophisticated users are building workflows. They break tasks into stages. They use AI for research synthesis, then structure it themselves, then ask AI to refine the language. They treat AI as a cognitive amplifier, not an autonomous agent. Use AI for research, summarization, drafting, analysis, and ideation, where speed and breadth matter. Keep human judgment at decision points, where accuracy and accountability matter. That combination is where the real leverage is. Let me leave you with a big picture. AI is not an oracle. It is not conscious. It does not understand you or your work. It is a remarkably powerful probabilistic language tool when used with skill and intention can dramatically amplify your cognitive output. The future advantage is not going to belong to the people who use AI the most. It is going to belong to the professionals who collaborate with AI intelligently, who understand its limits, designs around them, and bring their own judgment to the table. AI is the tool. You are still the thinker. That distinction is everything. So, here's your homework before next Tuesday. Go back to one thing you've done with AI this week. Look at the prompt you used and ask yourself, did you give it context, constraints, a clear objective? If not, try it again with those elements. And I promise you that you will be surprised with the difference. If this episode was useful, subscribe so you don't miss next Tutor Tuesday. Share this with one person who you think is misusing AI because chances are they are. And drop your biggest AI question in the comments. I read every single one, and your questions shape what we cover next. I'm Raj, and this is the AI Unpacked. Unpacking AI, simplifying the future. I'll see you next Tuesday. Namaskar.